I look at three major forces that are happening now, haven't happened in our lifetimes, but have happened many times in history. And those three major forces are the creation of a lot of debt and the printing of a lot of money to buy that debt, particularly because the government is running large deficits. And so they don't have enough money, so that government has to print that money. So that creation of all of that debt and its financial implications and its economic implications is one force.
Ray Dalio is a well-known American investor and hedge fund manager who founded the world's largest hedge fund, Ridgewater Associates, from his apartment in 1975. With decades of experience studying global markets and economies, Dalio has built a massive financial empire and a formidable reputation. In 2021, he published a New York Times bestseller, Principles for Dealing with a Changing World Order: Why Nations Fail and Succeed, in which he explores the most turbulent economic and political periods in history, taking readers through 500 years of the rise and fall of the world's greatest empires. Dalio's journey through history aims not only to educate readers about the past turbulence but also to identify the timeless and universal forces that cause power shifts and the forms in which they appear today. According to Dalio, the critical factors that make countries succeed or fail often appear in phases, which have been constant through the rise and fall of many empires and dynasties. These phases include the rise, the top, the decline, and the big collapse. In a recent interview, Dalio related each phase to the current state of the American economy, indicating that we may be about to witness the end of another great empire.
Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to drop your comment and observations in the comment section below. Thanks and enjoy the video.
The second force is the internal conflict, the amount of conflict that's internally, largely due to the largest wealth gaps that we've had since the 30s. And that produces populism of the left and the right, particularly when there are financial difficulties. The third force is the rising power, the challenging the existing power, largely in the form of China and to some extent Russia. So let's call it the great power conflict, because in 1945, there's this cycle. You have a war, then after a war, you have winners, and the winners determine the rules of the game. And then there's this evolution of others becoming more competitive, and then you have a conflict again for who's in control. So we have that dynamic taking place. I went back and studied history, the last 500 years, on these cycles. There are big cycles that last about 75 years, give or take about 50 years, and of rises and declines. And I put that out because I think it's so important people understand that. I put it out in a book called The Changing World Order and in a free video called The Changing World Order. So when we look at each one of those, they're important. I also learned in studying history that there were two other influences that were very big, and you could see them. The first was acts of nature, such as droughts, floods, and pandemics, the changes over time in the evolution over time of people's learning and the technologies they make. So I'd say there are the really five big influences that drive everything. So in the book, I write out, there's like a disease, like a cancer. You see stage 1, 2, 3, 4. If you have these things, you could look at it and you could diagnose, and you see it moving from stage 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 and to 6. You could see that taking place. And each time you come closer to a bad set of circumstances, bad financial circumstances, and bad fighting over things.
Dalio believes that the United States meets all the criteria of a declining superpower. The decline did not begin recently but has reached a point where temporary solutions can no longer contain the leaks. According to him, this would lead to a massive flood that would affect several sectors, such as banking, real estate, venture capital, private equity, and the tech industry. The dominoes are falling rapidly, and investors are not adequately prepared for the consequences. In his interview, Dalio emphasizes the precariousness of the current situation.
The dominoes are beginning to fall. I mean, okay, you know what the next dominoes are, and you can imagine the other dominoes. So, for example, they're not going to buy the debt. A lot of them are not. Those who bought the debt and have too much debt and have debt losses on government debt are not going to buy buy more of that debt, for example, and therefore, when the government sells more of the debt, there's not going to be an adequate number of buyers for that debt. You know that those who are hurting because they have those losses won't make loans, and a lot of those loans went to real estate, particularly commercial real estate. And you know that for various reasons in commercial real estate, that we don't use it the same way and so on. So you're going to have problems in commercial real estate. You know that this kind of money was also financing venture capital and private equity entities that also have cash flow problems, challenges. And so you know that that funding is not going to be there in the same way. You know, as a result of these things, that a number of entities will cut costs and in their various ways. And so depending on that, the job market is changing. And you see it, for example, in tech jobs and other, if you're in some of those areas that are getting squeezed, and you see the same thing by and large, happening internationally. So you can see also that if you said, what is the value of those assets that are being held, that value has gone down a lot. And because it was bought on leverage, as you described, because it is bought on leverage, there are bad losses in different places. And that's happening at the same time as we have an internal conflict taking place, such as the presidential election. So we're going to come into the presidential, and it's not just presidential election. Of course, it's a number of senators, congressmen, and so on, and who are at each other's throats about this, and who are going to fight with each other. Okay, and fight to win, not probably respect the rules as much, but fight to win for their side. And that's happening at the same time as we have the situation with China, most importantly, China and Russia, in terms of the issues, in terms of their things to fight over. For example, even there's going to be an election in Taiwan that'll also have a big bearing on this whole thing. So we know, I think, pretty much that we're going to have financial problems and economic problems at the same time as we have this internal fighting and this external risky situation.
Dalio warned Americans to be cautious of China's rise as a global superpower in 2020. He recounted his visit to China in 1984 and how the high-ranking officials were impressed by basic technology like calculators. He argued that China was at the same level of technological advancement as the US and would surpass it by 2025. Today, China is leading the US in various metrics and is on the verge of claiming reserve currency status. This could be the end of an old superpower and the beginning of a new global superpower. What do you think about Dalio's interview and his bleak predictions for the US economy? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. For more daily dose crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.